Well, folks, the rumours were true. For weeks, it's been speculated that if anybody's going to take over the Wallabies and hopefully get things right, it's Joe Schmidt. And sure enough, he has been officially confirmed today as the new coach of the Wallabies on a 2-year deal, which will see him with the Wallabies until the end of the 2025 British and Irish Lions tour. My first reaction is that is a bloody good appointment. I thought maybe they would go long-term deal 4 years with Larkham because they wanted to maybe switch back to, to keeping things Australian. But I guess after the Eddie Jones debacle, going back to a Kiwi doesn't seem like such a bad move. Fingers crossed he has a kind of better time of it than Robbie Deans and Dave Rennie did. A lot of New Zealand fans saying it's a bit of a poison chalice and why would you put yourself through that? But Joe Schmidt, man, bloody good coach. I can't think of a time he's gone into an organisation and left things worse than the way he found it. He's tended to have very good success and just has a way of elevating teams and adding value, which is phenomenal. Like, he's certainly one of those attention to detail rugby brains who just has a way of getting the best from the players that he's got to work with. And I think he's going to be a good appointment for Australia. He's said in his first kind of statement to the media that he's conscious that the Wallabies have weathered a difficult period, which is putting it very mildly. They were pretty well shafted by the shyster that was Eddie Jones, sadly. And he's keen to help them build a way forward with greater alignment and clear direction from Rugby Australia. Alignment, I think, is definitely going to be a key part. Australian rugby at times does seem a bit divided between what Rugby Australia wants to do, what the unions want to do. He needs to get everybody on the same page, which I feel like if that box gets ticked, will put a big step forward into getting success from the top guys, from the Wallabies. He said upcoming test matches against Wales will arrive quickly post Super Rugby, and the program through up until the British and Irish Lions tour next year presents plenty of opportunities and challenges, which I'm sure will invigorate the players and staff. So yeah, man, it's not like a full Rugby World Cup cycle contract. It's a relatively short-ish term deal, but with that big kind of cherry on the top of a Lions tour to coach against. For a guy who was with Ireland as many years as he was, that's going to be a fantastic, exciting prospect. I think from both sides, like from Lions fans, I think they'll love seeing a Wallabies side coached by Joe Schmidt. But yeah, Pete Horne had been previously appointed to a role with Rugby Australia, and once that happened, people said it was basically a foregone conclusion that him and Joe Schmidt would line up again, and thus it has proven. I mean, just to talk about his record briefly, coached with Leinster, Heineken Cup titles, Pro 12 titles. I mean, Leinster's a bloody good team, but I don't know that they were at the level that they are now back when he initially took them over, so saw certainly part of a big rebuild. I do have a DVD series about the history of Leinster rugby, which I watched at one point, but yes, undoubtedly his impact on Leinster was phenomenal. Saw him get the Irish role, which kind of peaked in 2018, which was 1 year too early for a World Cup, sadly, but Six Nations titles in that 2018 Grand Slam. That 2018 Irish side is just one of the best sides you'll have ever seen. They were phenomenal. Like, he was coach of the year that year. They just won everything. So yeah, like I said, a year too early for a World Cup. Finished, I guess, a little bit on a sour note when they went out in the quarterfinal at a World Cup. Kind of got hammered by the All Blacks, but I feel like the All Blacks, after that 2018 year where they lost to Ireland, went and basically set up their team to try and make sure they would beat Ireland if they met at the World Cup, and that's kind of how it panned out. So yeah, still overall phenomenally successful coach with Ireland. Goes back to New Zealand to be closer to family, lines up with the Blues in a kind of advisory role. His role, I think, saw a pretty immediate impact with the Blues that season. They took a step up from the previous seasons. Like, the Blues were already tracking well, but I think it was a real shot in the arm. They made it all the way to the Super Rugby final, which they hosted. I went to, and we bloody lost to the Crusaders again. And then same deal with the All Blacks, man. Struggling Ian Foster, on the verge of getting sacked, with Razor coming in to replace him, but they hire a bunch of new assistants, including getting Joe Schmidt on board. What do you know? The All Blacks kind of turned things around, go all the way to a World Cup final, lose that narrowly to the Springboks. So, yeah, like I said, he tends to come in and have a positive impact where he goes. He is one of those detailed rugby brains, so I do think we'll be able to look at this Australian rugby situation, look at the players, look at the clubs, get things aligned, and get the most out of the playing stocks that they have available. A lot of people in the last few days, since Andy Farrell's been named the Lions coach, have been saying how the Wallabies are going to get absolutely spanked, saying that if Wales hammered the Wallabies by what they did at the Rugby World Cup, then of course they got no chance against the Lions. I'll just put it out there that that was an Eddie Jones coached, poorly, youthful Wallabies side. That wasn't the full value you can get out of the Wallabies side. I'm not saying that they're going to thrash the Lions 3-0 in reverse, but I'm just saying I think people need to give them a bit more credit than they are kind of currently getting. That was a bad Wallabies side, poorly run, that went to the World Cup. As I said, they've got better players. They can be coached better. If you pick them, get things right, they can hopefully get Aussie rugby back into a good place. It's certainly going to be a challenge, like he acknowledged. But yes, we will see how things go. You guys let us know your thoughts. Anybody think this is a bad idea of all the kind of guys who were bandied about to get this role? Do you think there's anyone who would have done a better job, or do you think Joe Schmidt is the man? You guys let us know your thoughts, and talk to you guys again soon. See you later.